I mean, it's bear in mind, man, it's not really the movie news show yet. We're not quite there with that. Aye, I know the podcast. That. The band, Bob Dylan and the band. Aye. What do you think of that In My Life video? The In My Life video, did you watch it? Oh, it's incredible. That is good. George Martin playing the fucking solo bit.
No, it's not. The mics are off now, Stephen. I've unmuted them now. Oh no! Start again. Let's do that intro again. I forgot it. Oh, come on, do the intro. That's a fucking shambles. So is this off? Is this on? What is going on here? Right. Promise you I'll get the intro right this time. This is from a Stream Deck as well. Supposed to be infallible. Not when John's controlling it. Well, hello and welcome into Entertainment News. I'm Jonathan Walsh here to discuss the latest happenings. I'm your host. Joining me is the other host on the show, Stephen John McLaughlin, as you can see down there. Say Stephen, see that? We're going to be discussing a couple of interesting news tidbits today, Stephen. One rather shocking piece of news I didn't actually know was a thing until you told me tonight. Obviously, there's been an update on the story, but just the actual news of Saif Ali Khan being stabbed, I was really surprised by that. I was taken aback. Such a cool guy, fantastic actor. Really shocked me that he'd been stabbed, I think 7 times, 5 times, several times anyway.
Yeah.
Really shocking news. And also we're going to discuss a couple other things. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're going to start off really. Saif Ali Khan, shockingly involved.
I mean, some might say it's the price you pay for fame, isn't it? But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You know, these people are just people at the end of the day, and they don't certainly don't deserve this kind of treatment. But yeah, and this was something obviously Praveen on the website had reported on earlier today, folks, if you want to check out his report on it, the update on it. But yeah, he was stabbed 6 times in this attack, which I think happened in another room, I think adjacent to his own sort of personal bedroom in his wife's room, and they heard some kind of scrape, I think, in the nanny's quarters. And yeah, apparently this chap, stabbed him 6 times, and I think one of them was in the back of the neck. So you can, from that statement from, I think it was the nurse, Eliama Philip, who said, that the intruder warned them not to make any noise and demanded 10 million rupees. So obviously threatening behaviour before the violence kicked off. And Saif Ali Khan's very, very lucky. Very, very lucky to still be living and breathing with a blow to the neck, because that's, as you know, John, that goes either way into an artery.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the jugular vein, obviously, you've got your main vein that runs down your neck, and thankfully it seems like it was an idiot who was involved in the attack. It wasn't anyone with any degree of competence, because if it was, then he would be gone, no doubt about it. And you'd be talking about a completely different sort of kind of news story here, where you're mourning the loss of a brilliant actor. I see the comment, arrested after 3 days. Yeah, I mean, that's in and of itself slightly crazy. That it took 3 days when he was in Saif's house, and there was a number of different witnesses. Slightly crazy to me that it's taken as long as 3 days. When you think, Stephen, of similar stories over here, the mind immediately goes to George Harrison back in the day. I think it was late 90s, wasn't it? 1999. He had an intruder in his house who stabbed him several times, including in the lung. And a lot of people think that sped up the demise of George, because he was battling, I think, cancer at that point. And also the shock of that in the body didn't help him. But I think that guy was arrested immediately. He was in the house and it was dealt with like that.
Yeah, I think a lot had to do with Olivia, George Harrison's wife, had hit him over the head with an iron. One of those pokers you get at your fireplace, one of those pokers, she hit him over the head and knocked him out. So in that case, George was very lucky to survive that. But obviously, I think it sped up obviously his illness. But yeah, I mean, it does. This intruder obviously in this case has been in the home. I think the nurse said that she saw a shadowy figure. So he was already in the house at this point. So it goes to show, I mean, Saif Ali Khan, as far as we know, we only know him from a few things that we saw him in, but he's a big name. He's a Bollywood superstar in our eyes anyway. But you would expect them to have the security for these sort of things not to happen. But
I'm reading that, Stephen.
You don't really have that, I suppose, until it happens to you or someone close to you, I suppose.
Well, I'm actually reading that here in the Hindustan Times, and they're saying that the guards were sleeping when the attacker broke in. So they should be getting sacked right off the bat, because they're clearly useless. But yeah, during a robbery attempt at his home 5 days ago, they were sleeping. But as obviously Jogan Tani says in the chat, it was a Bangladeshi illegal immigrant. Yeah, apparently I'm reading that there. He crossed the river to enter India through Meghalaya. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Meghalaya. And yeah, it was obviously an illegal immigrant that's come into India. And how he's managed to discover the residence of Saif Ali Khan.
Also says, John, that they didn't know it was his house. They just thought it was some random rich guy's house.
When I say that,
Even it's not right. It doesn't matter who it is. But in this case, it's obviously Saif Ali Khan, and we've covered a lot of his stuff, John, his work, and we're big admirers of the guy as well. We don't know, obviously, we've not really paid attention to his sort of real life in terms of chat shows or whatever, interviews and stuff like that. But he comes across as a well-rounded actor, someone that's very grounded, and I mean, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking when you actually read what happened, and to be stabbed 6 times and come out of that, and one of those blows being in the back of your neck. I'm just glad the guy survived. you know, just on a more personal level, not because I'm a big fan of his work, just as a human being to another human being. You know, it's a terrible thing to go through. I mean, that's an ordeal that you're not going to forget. It's always going to be psychologically, you know, you're scarred for life with that, as well as obviously the physical side of obviously that kind of attack.
I mean, Stephen, it's not even remotely comparable, but when I was younger, we had an intruder break into our house. Just a random junkie or something back in the day. And it sticks with you. There's a residual sort of, I don't know, effect in the house. You don't want to stay in the house anymore. You don't feel safe. I was really young at the time. I think I was about 6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly. It's violation.
Just someone's been in your
violation
house.
to your personal space, you know, and in this case, it's obviously, you know, violation of the body as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's shocking. Also, we were discussing it and didn't know a huge amount of details of the actual attack. Like I said, I only discovered this tonight, which shocked me. Because look, I'm constantly talking about Sacred Games. I think it's one of the greatest TV shows ever made. I genuinely do believe that.
Yep.
Him and Nawazuddin Siddiqui were unfucking believable. Just astonishing, the two of them. And the story was riveting. It's right up there with some of the greatest TV shows I've ever seen. I keep banging the drum, try to get people to watch it. So, big fan of the guy. And also don't know him individually, but he seems like a thoroughly decent guy. No one deserves to be stabbed, I understand that. But also when it's a big name like that, it's obviously got more resonance. People are going to know about it because he's a big name. But I was going to say something there, and I've totally lost the plot what I was going to say. I was talking just generally about the fame, with the pitfalls of fame. We were kind of discussing that. That's the downside. Obviously, it's not applicable in this case because it's just some random wafer stray who's come into his house, and it's unfortunate that he's picked Saif's home and it's not someone else. Again, don't want anybody to have to deal with that. Neighbours, anybody. But he's just the unfortunate victim in this case, that this violent individuals broke in, tried to extort him and his family for money, then obviously stabbed him. But this is the downsides at times that people don't see when they think of fame and fortune and what it's like to be a big name actor or musician or whatever. That you've got these crazy fuckers.
Earlier on, for obviously everyone that doesn't know, John came over to my house earlier to install a light for the show, and I said, you know, I think this is something we have to talk about. And you said, what's that? And I said, the Saif Ali Khan incident. And you're like, what? And you look genuinely shocked when I told you what happened. So it just goes to show having that knock-on effect as fans. You know, just as fans
it's
of
disturbing,
the
Steve.
actor. Yeah.
Because it's not something you see that often.
No.
But you think of John Lennon getting assassinated, guys like that. You can name in one hand the amount of people over here that have, of fame, artists, if you like, musicians, singers, actors who have been targeted like this. There's not many you can think of who have been targeted. I think off the top of my head, Ray Davies, George Harrison, John Lennon. I can't think of many other. I think there was a famous actor, maybe. There has been actors who have been, I'm sure, targeted and things like this. There's not many individuals. It doesn't happen that much. So when you hear it, it does shock you.
These are apparent fans, you know, of the person in one way or another, not just obviously attacks from people, but people that are apparently supposed to be fans. But in this case, obviously this guy wasn't a fan. They didn't know who he was actually attacking, by all accounts. But nevertheless, you know, it's the emotional damage that these kind of things does to a person. If you've ever been attacked, or you know, it's something that will stay with you for the rest of your life, whether or not it's something perhaps maybe a beating, or if it's in this case a stabbing, it still stays with you as a violation. You know, and if this is obviously the person, you know, that they're saying in the report, they've caught after 3 days, then that's a relief in itself. But I think obviously someone like Saif Ali Khan, I know obviously he's mentioned about his security sleeping, and I think they're all going to be. I think they're all going to be at the job centre on Monday morning, and he's going to have to obviously, he's going to have to up his security. You know, obviously it wasn't sufficient enough for that guy to already be in the house before anything kicked off, which in itself is creepy. That's disturbing in itself that someone's lurking, while they're getting on with their lives. And
especially when, he's got 2 children, and obviously a family there. So for them to have to go through that and see their father putting up with that. But Stephen, he's 54 years of age, and I think it speaks, it's a measure of the man. You can see there, the Indian Express, there's video and photos of him walking back home 5 days after he's been stabbed 6 times. He's walking back to his house. So guy's obviously, he's a strong individual, and I'm sure he'll bounce back, man. I'm sure. Thankfully he's not lost his life. That's the one takeaway, and he's free to continue on giving us some great entertainment moving forward into the future. That comment though, I don't tend to go after sort of every single refugee, because I understand there is proper sort of refugee people who are fleeing war zones and whatnot, who have got real issues and they try to seek refuge. But I think and I know this is probably not the platform for it, but I think certainly in certain countries, and I think the United Kingdom's starting to experience this to an extent as well, they do have to address maybe skilled and metric or systems akin to Australia, where just regular sort of immigrants have to pass a certain degree of competency to get into the country, where you need to bring something useful to the country in terms of a trade or a job skill, because you can't just I can't walk into Australia, for instance. If you're over 45, you can't go into Australia permanently and live there. You have to bring competency and skills to the country and make the country better. Thankfully, I think we've seen in Scotland there's not been many cases like this. Most people who come here are welcome. They do seem to acquiesce into society. And in the main, it's a lot of skilled individuals, doctors, nurses, people who are doing necessary things. I can see I've got something behind me that's doing my nothing. It's not as big a problem, thankfully, in Scotland, but we have seen that down in England, obviously, and in other places, America. Certainly, there's been a young girl get raped and killed by a couple of, I think, Mexican immigrants. So it is a big problem. And obviously, this could have been anybody. It could have been some wafer stray mentalist who was of Indian nationality. You can't really legislate for anything like this happening. Someone can break into a house and try and kill the occupant. In this case, as a Bangladeshi immigrant, though. So, yeah, I kind of agree. There's going to be a tipping point with that at some point, and people they're going to have to do something, aren't they? Because there is a lot of incidents like this happening across the world. But what can you do?
Well, that's the thing. You just it's a sort of instant isolated. All the actor can do is up his security. I'm sure he can afford to do that, being in the position he's in. For his own well-being and his family's well-being, that's the sort of most important thing that has to come out of this, that him and his family are safe. In terms of the political side of things and how people are coming in and out of the country, that's a show itself, John. And it's something definitely, that maybe it's not the right place to talk about it on here, but you're absolutely right. Something needs to give. Things like this can't continue to go on.
Well, I think it speaks it's concerning from an Indian national security point of view that you have got these randoms swimming across a river and attacking citizens in India. That's not something. To come to the United Kingdom's obviously a much more difficult country to come into, because we are an island with a body of water around us. We've got that natural border, so you really you're struggling to get into the country in that manner. You'd have to come over and be undetected from fucking border security. But in India, I presume there's a lot more sort of land borders, certainly up north with Pakistan, Bangladesh to the right, I think. Am I right in saying that? To the east. There is a lot more borders and ways for people to get in, but it does surprise me that this guy's managed to cross the border. I presume he's crossed the border via a river and just nonchalantly walked into one of the most famous people in India's house and fucking stabbed him. That's absolutely crazy to me. And it's, as they say, it's India's financial capital. It's not a little unknown city. It's a major city.
That's the difference with the sort of comparisons we made earlier. Obviously, George Harrison and John Lennon were targeted by so-called obsessed fans. But in this case, it's obviously just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it doesn't matter if the person's famous or not. Obviously, these actions are very, very wrong. I'm just glad to see that he's recovered, he's home, his family are safe, and just hopefully there's not any sort of lasting effect on that attack, because I think most of us that would traumatise you into perhaps maybe becoming a recluse. I don't know if he is really a very private person or not, but certainly after Lennon's death, Harrison became more of a recluse than ever. He was always deemed the quiet Beatle, but I think after 1980, just him and Paul McCartney didn't tour. Paul didn't tour for 2 or 3 years. It might have been longer than that, I'm not really sure. Just to have that effect. And that's the kind of effect I hope it doesn't have on the actor. I hope he continues, turning up for work and giving us great content, but first and foremost, as long as he is okay and his family are okay.
Yeah, you've just got to get on with it. At the end of the day, you've just got to, that's it. You can't dwell on things like this. He survived.
You shouldn't be beaten either with these people.
No, and they won't. Stephen, I'm just looking at this briefly because I'm talking nonsense clearly. If he's a Bangladeshi illegal immigrant, I mean, that's way up here. It isn't east. I was right.
You're right, John. Yeah,
Mumbai's away down here, so he's clearly just an illegal immigrant who's been floating around India for a long time, and he's maybe crossed some nondescript river and managed to attack him, but I don't think he's not come across the border. He's obviously been in the country for quite a while, because that's Bangladesh over there. So
I think, I mean, you've got
Bangladesh used to be Pakistan. Am I right in saying that? Was that an eastern colony of Pakistan? Then I think there was a typhoon or something killed 100,000 people, and I think it then obviously separated. There was a lot of violent sort of conflict in Bangladesh, I'm sure. But I'm not an expert in that by any means. I know, speaking of George Harrison, he was involved in the concert for Bangladesh after that horrendous typhoon, I think in the 70s or something. But yeah, well, it's unfortunate at the end of the day. Thankfully, the guy has survived, though it was shocking to hear he'd been attacked in that manner. But thankfully, the most important thing is he and his family are all right. And moving forward, he'll be able to give us some brilliant content, hopefully. And the perpetrator's been arrested, so he'll obviously get his... I'm sure he's getting his justice search just now. But yeah, I don't know if you want to move on to the next topic, which is...
That was quite... Obviously, that was quite deep stuff there. For a podcast, that might, if you're not interested in obviously the actor, it's let's lighten the mood a little bit. Talk about obviously a complete unknown. How's performing, John?
Yeah, it's Timothée Chalamet. It's his latest sort of biopic. Bob Dylan. We're both massive fans of Bob Dylan. We've seen lots of content about him. Also, the Martin Scorsese documentary. There's been a couple other ones. No Direction Home. I read the book. Obviously, there was the other kind of biopic, but it was a more artistic style of biopic where it was 4 or 5 different actors taking on the role. I think Kate Blanchett was one. Want to say off the top of my head.
Christian Bale, I think.
Christian Bale. Am I right in saying that Heath Ledger was involved in that as well? Maybe not. I'm talking shite. That's another thing entirely. Yeah, that was another one that someone stepped into the shoes when he passed away. It was incomplete. But anyway, that was that. So I've not seen that one, but I think you may have, Stephen. But both big fans of Bob Dylan. Obviously, really looking forward to A Complete Unknown. Reacted to the trailer. It looked really authentic for that time period, charting him from the start in New York up till, I believe, the Electric era, when he ruffled a few feathers. And yeah, the box office information is out. Certainly the United Kingdom and Ireland. It's debuted with 2.6 million. Now that's child's play when it comes to international box office in the United States. But for the United Kingdom, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty decent. It's at the top of the box office. And again, you've got to look at this from a sort of pop cultural side of things. This guy is a massive name over 5 decades, 6 decades. He's been around. He's had number ones in every decade. But for a lot of people of the age of 30 and below, they probably don't know who this guy is. This is a learning experience for a lot of people.
It's kind of weird, but you're absolutely right that there is probably a generation that are not as as well versed in Bob Dylan as we are, but I think in terms of its performance in the UK, it doesn't surprise me because a big part of his life that's portrayed in this film was in the UK. He was doing the UK tours at the time, the Isle of Wight and all the other venues that he played when he did that crossover between obviously folk to electric. And we've seen it obviously in the Martin Scorsese documentary, the sort of jeering from the crowd. It was obviously the English crowd. And he's a traitor, and he's abandoned his roots, etc. And I think that's probably one of the reasons. I think because a big part of this story was based in the UK, and a lot of the backlash was from the UK as well. So,
why does
in
that not
terms of
surprise me?
obviously, yeah, but I mean, I kind of understand that, but we look at it as in hindsight because we've got all the material there in front of us, and we've got it all, and we can appreciate Like a Rolling Stone and Positively 4th Street, etc.
When was it, Stephen? What was the year that he went electric? Was it the late 60s, 67, 68?
I think it was earlier than that.
Was it early 65?
You look at his sort of.
I mean, I'd have to search it up.
I would say it's probably about 65, 66.
I mean, I was about to say, you've got to respect an artist's desire to evolve and become
I think at
different.
the time it would have been shocking though, John. I try and put myself in the shoes of these people, and we're not seeing it from that perspective. We're seeing his whole body of work, and or up to now anyway. He's still alive. I'm talking as if he's not here, but in terms of that period, we do see obviously the comparisons between the folk stuff and obviously, but we see the progression, and we've worked our way back the way as well. We've mined from probably more recent stuff and working our way back. We've got a habit of doing that, and they're seeing it or hearing it for the very first time, Dylan on an electric guitar, and they're thinking, what? This is not what I paid for. I came here to see folk music. So I think someone said that, didn't they? One of the people that were interviewed in that documentary. I came here to see folk music, not pop music.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean that was the reason I says what year roughly, because to be fair, that would have been a different concept in '65 when you think about it. There was not many artists who were going through a great evolution by that point. Electric rock and roll was probably only like. Electric sort of guitar music was probably only realistically about 7 or 8 years into its proper electric guitars, like very first. I'm talking about Gibson Les Pauls, Stratocasters. You're talking like 57, 55, early 50s maybe. But even then, at the start, they were getting used for completely different purposes. It was like jazz and completely different kind of music. Guys like Chuck Berry and B.B. King and Elvis, to an extent, with his great guitarist whose name I always forget, they jumped on it and changed it. Maybe even Buddy Holly and guys like fucking Cliff Richards, to an extent, with the Shadows, they took the instrument and transformed it. But there wasn't really that evolution and change of an artist. You kind of, Elvis was Elvis, Chuck Berry was Chuck Berry, Johnny Cash was Johnny Cash. It was really the Beatles and guys like Bob Dylan who laid down the foundations for what we got with Elton John and David Bowie, and people completely changing over a course of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years into completely different acts and bringing different personalities. In David Bowie's case, there wasn't really anybody before that.
Yeah, Dylan did it himself, obviously, after he sort of changed from folk to rock, then went to country. And changed his whole voice over a period of time as well for that. He was appearing on the Johnny Cash show as a regular as well. So his whole genre changing, isn't a new thing. But at the time, that was quite unheard of. It's like Bill Haley in the Comets, doing Rocking Around the Clock, and then switching genre. They just, you've got to admire Dylan's sort of bravery in doing that. Because they could have stuck to a formula like the Beach Boys, stick to the formula and we'll make lots of money and fame. But Dylan was never like that. He was never into the sort of fame side of things.
But that's why Dylan and the Beatles and acts like David Bowie and Elton John to an extent, and even Blur in the 90s, that's why they, I think, get more respect. Radiohead, they get more respect. Even R.E.M., Stephen, you speak famously about R.E.M. They had a distinct sound in the 80s. And then they came out with, what was it? What was the name of that? Yeah, but what's the name of the album with the sort of bear on it?
Yeah, Monster, yeah.
Monster, yeah. Totally changed their sound. Acts like that get more respect in terms of critical and long term from the audiences, because they are changing it and they're shaking it up. They're not just doing the exact same tried and tested stuff. It gets boring after a while. I love Oasis, man, I do. But it's just samey. You can listen to their early stuff all the way through. It's the fucking same. The Rolling Stones, just they've been the same since Brian Jones passed away. It's just variations on the same stuff. It was brilliant with Mick Taylor, but in the end it was just variations. So we are going off on a tangent here, but fuck it, it is what it is. It's discussion. At the end of the day,
talking about that period, though. We're talking about that period in Dylan's life, and you know, if you're going to pick if you're going to make a Bob Dylan film, and you're going to have to pick a period, this is the period you're going to pick, because it's the most interesting one. I'm not saying he falls off a cliff after 1967 or whatever. He certainly didn't. No. He still was bringing out the tunes and bringing out those fantastic albums in the 1970s, and perhaps maybe in the 1980s and then into the 90s it was kind of changing, and the appeal wasn't as there as it was before. But in terms of Dylan's his mark on music and popular music can't be denied. In the 1960s and the 1970s, he was such a figurehead and a leader, and whether he wanted to be or not, he had a following. And I know that those people initially would not have liked that change, but he would have gathered a new fan base changing as well. People would have started listening to that electric folk rock, whatever you want to call it, purely on the basis of some great sounds. And he had a good band as well behind him. Yeah. Who obviously spoke on the Martin Scorsese documentary. Fascinating in terms of Like a Rolling Stone, that organ. Yeah. It's got a slight delay on it with the rest of the band playing in harmony. The organ's slightly behind, and the explanation for that on the documentary was fantastic, and why it was delayed, because the guy playing it didn't know the song, so he was kind of just following the band, but a split second behind them with the organ, and you hear it in the record. That takes skill, though. That does take skill. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Because if you're following, you don't know it, you're just doing key changes. And he knew that Dylan caught on to him, but he liked what he was doing. So, yeah, I mean, it's in Chalamet, John, as well. And I know we're not talking about Chalamet too much, it's more Bob Dylan, but he's such a versatile actor, isn't he? And he's just at the right age to portray this version of Bob Dylan as well. I just can't think of anyone else doing it in this period. And certainly, obviously, the director as well, who's obviously got previous with Walk the Line. So in terms of biopics, he knows how to do it. He knows how to get the best out of actors and choosing that period in time. I think obviously Walk the Line was probably a bigger time scale. I think maybe I'm not really sure. I've not seen it in a while, but this is isolated for those years that mattered to most people. I suppose were Bob Dylan fans, and then weren't Bob Dylan fans, and then the new set of Dylan fans coming through as well for the genre change. So, well, I mean, Chalamet spoke about that and some of the press junkets, how he was excited to portray the role. First of all, because he is from New York himself. I know Bob was from Duluth, Minnesota, but he moved to New York and is synonymous with New York. And I always forget the name of it. Is it like West Village or something? There's a particular suburb within New York that's renowned for creativity and artists flocking there, poets and musicians and whatnot. And Greeny? It's just, I can't remember. Is it Green? It may be, yeah. But it's just a specific area of New York that's full of interesting artistical sort of figures and brilliant minds, and they all get together, and that's apparently a bit of a place. I don't know exactly where Chalamet's, what part of New York he was born, but I know he's from New York. He'll understand that scene even now. It'll not be that different. I mean, I've seen the likes of Casey Neistat talking about New York and its energy for sort of ambitious people who are creatively minded. It's the place to be. It's like fucking Mecca. We have an adopted New Yorker on our sometimes on the panel, and definitely is knocking out the reviews at the moment on the website. Gianni, Gianni Di Maia, who's I think originally from Florida.
Yeah.
So his family are from Florida, but he is definitely an adopted New Yorker. Gianni was he made a post on X, I think, just before the new year, saying that I think he saw this movie. I don't know if it was out in the US before the new year. I'm not sure, or perhaps maybe it was a screener he was at. But he did say in his post that, you know, after watching it, he's got a Bob Dylan twang, which I don't think would go for Gianni with obviously his current accent. But I think Dylan was such a unique person in the way he spoke as well, wasn't he? And,
Yeah.
you look at those interviews and they're so fascinating. The one with his cigarettes in his pocket, and you can tell he's agitated, he's uncomfortable with all this sort of attention, and such a funny guy, very dry wit. And then we see him out in the street and he's looking at that shop window. I want to clip my clip, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Such
you know,
a
just
sharp mind.
making poetry as he's walking down the street, and just fantastic, absolutely amazing, fascinating guy.
Well,
So
yes,
I can understand why James Mangold wanted to do this project.
I mean, there's been a lot of lesser artists and musicians and singers had biopics prior to this, and they're far less deserving than Bob Dylan. I mean, no offence to fucking, I don't know off the top of my head,
Robbie Williams,
for example. But even your man from the Doors, I'm blanking his name, terrible.
Jim Morrison,
Jim Morrison, he's fucking nowhere near Bob Dylan. Nowhere near. Nowhere near as interesting a life as Bob Dylan. So, I mean, right off the bat, just not even talking about the artistic brilliance of Bob, just the life he lived, having that drive to leave a rural little town in fucking Minnesota, go up sticks and go to New York, and then make the success of his life that he's actually made, and then to go on and be a guy who's in number ones in fucking 6 decades in a row or something, 5 decades in a row. That in and of itself is an interesting story to tell. Before you get into the actual music and the writing ability, and the fact this guy get nominated for a Nobel fucking prize for writing, I think it was. I think he rejected it because people were saying he didn't deserve it. They're obviously not aware of music. They're obviously plebs who are completely unaware of his back catalogue, because he certainly did deserve it. So, I mean, this is well overdue, having a great biopic about Bob Dylan and his life. And like you said, Timothée Chalamet, there is no other actor on earth at the moment in that age range who could play this role. And based off the trailers, I've not seen the film yet, I have to write that and go and watch it. This is one you need to see in a theatre. Just to support it, because I love James Mangold as well. What a director. Just everything.
I mean, obviously we saw the trailers, John. We saw both trailers and reacted to them, and just the aesthetics of the film impressed me enough.
He's playing the guitar. The guy's just a brilliant actor. And off the screen, doing the sort of press tours and whatnot, he's such a charismatic, cool guy.
John, where do you think it stands, though, in terms of Academy Awards? Because we talked about this before we came on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring this up.
The sort of perception, obviously, audience is not an issue.
I mean, you think a critical... I mean, not that they have any part to play in Academy Awards, they don't. The critics are the critics, but obviously it's how big your pockets are in terms of the Academy and how much you can, so I don't know, get favour with members within to vote for your film and give it a chance to win, and wooing and sort of dining them and giving them money. That's the way, let's be honest, that's how you... I'm not saying it's not artistic brilliance it's voted on, but a lot of the times it's how much of a push and promotion the studio's willing to give a film, and how much money they're willing to give the right people to give it a leg up. That's what will make or break it. Ultimately, we know that biopics do very well at the Academy Awards. I mean, we've seen that with Rami Malek to an extent. Maybe not Taron Egerton, because I don't think that won. I'm pretty sure that didn't win much, but we've seen in the past biopics tend to do very well at the Academy Awards. I don't know the actual strength of competition. Obviously, The Brutalist with Adrian Brody. I'm going to get into that after this, Stephen. I'm going to throw you under the bridge, or under the bus. That's the correct phrase, not the bridge.
Yeah. Not a troll.
Why I said that. Yeah. Don't know why I said bridge. Water under a bridge. Like a bridge over... If we had a Simon and Garfunkel biopic, that'd be an interesting one. My God.
Yeah.
Fell out for 30 years. I think he was out speaking how he regretted falling out. It was silly. Get John Lennon with that leather leotard thing or whatever he had on. It wasn't a leotard, it was like a fucking suit. It was weird. What? It was a jumpsuit, wasn't it? Popping up at a nondescript awards show in the mid-70s and poking fun at how short little... Was it Simon? It was a short one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was. Was it the Grammys? I'm sure it was the Grammys. The two of them presented an award, yeah. And Art Garfunkel comes up to collect it on behalf of Olivia Newton-John. And I don't think Paul Simon and him were talking at times, so it was kind of awkward.
Paul Simon was very small. He was incredibly
very funny.
small.
Yeah, I think he said, I thought I told you to wait in the car.
And he didn't take it. He did not take it well. But no, going back to the Academy Award, I think obviously Brody's going to have a say in this with the Brutalist. I'm going to go on to the Brutalist because there's a bit of controversy surrounding this film. But I don't know, Stephen. I mean, time will tell. I think Chalamet's got a long and distinguished career ahead. He's not going to be crying into his pillow at night if he doesn't get an Academy Award nomination or win for this role. I'm sure you'll have plenty of opportunities moving forward. Fuck's sake, Leonardo DiCaprio had to wait an extra 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
From where Timothée is right now to get his Academy Award. Al Pacino had to wait in 93, I think, with Scent of a Woman, after the roles he had to pick up an Academy Award. So, and as a sort of singular performance, I'm sure he'll get his time if it's not with this. I don't know what the competition is. I mean, we're, what, 2 months out?
Yeah, we'll
you just never. I mean, it's you probably know the front runners by now. It's just I don't.
Yeah.
But most people, competent people, will know who the front runners are, and they'll probably be able to. Gianni, for instance, will be able to weigh up where Chalamet's chances are, because he will have seen all of the films, whereas I'm a joke and I've not seen anywhere near as much. But man, I'm looking forward to seeing it. That audience review is astronomical, 96%. That's usually more aligned with where I'm at. I don't know if you want to read some reviews. I don't know if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, why not? Maybe a couple.
Wendy Eide, is that how you say her name? Writing for The Observer. Didn't know The Observer was an esteemed publication, worthy of top critic. Brandon, but okay, we'll read it. It's a remarkable performance. Star of the moment, Timothée Chalamet inhabits the loose-limbed, live-wire physicality of the young Bob Dylan and makes an impressively good fist of capturing the frayed Hessian of his distinctive voice. The audience reviews saying top-notch acting and amazing music. Well, I fucking hope so. It's Bob Dylan. You can't get the music right, you're screwed. I'd like to get some of the negative Nancy's though. Who's rating it rotten? Is anyone rating it rotten? Or are they just rating the movie fresh but not particularly high? Oh, there we go. Josh Larson. Larson on film. Fuck's this guy getting a reviewing gig? How's he getting deemed a critic? Who is this guy? Chalamet does enough to suggest he could anchor a really good Dylan biopic. Oh, touche. Tom Gliato, People magazine. Unknown, directed by James Mangold. Fucking right off the bat, I've lost the plot with this guy. A complete unknown, mate. It's 3 fucking words. Why are you shortening that film down to unknown? Get in the bin. I'm not even reading that review. Up to Christian. Beyond the Dylan songs themselves, a complete unknown gives us little idea about what made the star into such a great American artist. You might as well buy a greatest hits album or the movie's soundtrack. Well,
John, somebody mentioned in our trailer reaction in terms of that, they were hoping that there would be the more sort of obscure material would be in there, the ones that you would have probably heard in the bootleg series, perhaps. And I think our sort of prediction would be, I don't think they're going to do that. I think it'll be the hits. They always do that for Hollywood. They're not going to put in some random ones, that only Dylan fans will know, because they've got to appeal to a demographic. Obviously they want to pull in the Dylan fans, obviously, to the movie, but I think Bob Dylan story pulls that in anyway. But people that are not massive fans of Bob Dylan will not want to hear some of the bootleg series and stuff like that. Will not be interested. They'll only be interested in Hard Rain and Like a Rolling Stone and that kind of thing. It's just
he's my favourite Dylan. My favourite Dylan songs.
People invest enough in that sort of thing. And perhaps maybe we're kind of guilty of that as well. Definitely for Johnny Cash, who until Walk the Line, I only knew a few of his songs anyway.
I always knew a boy named Sue because I had this.
Obviously,
I went to school with a guy that used to sing that all the time.
He was Blues, yeah.
With Dylan, I mean, leopard skin pillbox hat's one of my favourites, and I don't think that's one of his.
I love the live version of that.
Yeah, just the guitars and great. You speak about his live band. Jesus Christ, guitar playing's off the charts. I think it was actually you that got me into that song, Steve.
The live one. I mean, I like Dylan, but the live one's my favourite.
Yeah, it's just an energy, and that's what I'm talking about when you had these critics and weirdos slagging off his transition into electric music. You wouldn't have got that chaotic, brilliant performance. You would have missed out on all that stuff. So thankfully, Bob's always been a free spirit, and he's done what he wants. And screw the haters; they'll come round, or they'll get lost in the annals of time. And Bob, and these haters are just in the past, and no one cares about them. In terms of the rest, I mean, time will tell. I'm not going to read all these. I don't really give a shit what these people think. Ultimately, it's down to what I think. And obviously, for your perspective, it's going to be down to what you think on this film. You can read all these critical responses, but at the end of the day, the consensus is it's a good film. It's just where you rate it in terms of a greatness. 79%, that's a huge... Again, there's this common misconception with Rotten Tomatoes that that's the rating of the film. They're rating it 79%. That's not the way Rotten Tomatoes works. Rotten Tomatoes works in the sense that 79% of the critics liked the film enough to rate it at a fresh score. So that's more than 2/3 of the critics. Nearly, 3/4 of the critics like this film and rate it highly. There's a quarter of the Sentient Voices that don't rate it, and nearly 100% of the actual regular audience actually like the film and have rated it fresh. So it's a success of a film. Time will tell in terms of box office. I mean, I could go right into it and search up Box Office Mojo just now and maybe see how the raw numbers are before we move on. Overall, 58 million. What's the budget for this? Do we know the budget for this? Can I come out and just find out quickly what the budget is for this film? The budget is 70 million. So 70 million budget. It's already made $58 million. It's been out for nearly a month, to be fair. Earliest release. That's the earliest release date, though.
Oh, in the UK, it only came out last Friday, John.
Yeah. So it's been out about a week proper.
Yeah.
And that would have been very early. Critical stuff for, obviously, eligibility for the award shows and whatnot. Because I think it has to do 2 to 3 weeks in several locations, major locations in the United States, like New York, LA, a couple of other ones, to be eligible. So that would have been to get the eligibility for the Academy Awards and whatnot. A week in to its proper run, it's nearly grossed its budget. It's a biopic. I'm sure in the end, with promotion, probably need to hit maybe 100, 150 million or something to make a sliver of a profit. I don't feel like this is the kind of movie it's setting its stall out to be hugely profitable.
I just want to make it. John, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They're specifically designed in a way, especially when they're made by Hollywood. They're for the hardcore fans, but in a sense where they've got to keep it and generalise as much as possible in terms of the content that they put within the film. Don't make it too detailed. Make it over dramatical when you can, but not unrealistic, and stick to the greatest hits. That's what they all do. We've seen it with the Elton John one, we saw it with the Queen one, saw it with Walk the Line. I didn't see the Bowie one because I don't think they had the rights for the music. So
it's just ridiculous. There's no one can play Bowie as well. I mean, he's quite play fucking Dave Bowie. I mean, you can do that.
There was a Chatham Cross one time I thought could have, but yeah, that's another story as well.
That's a slope I'm not going down. I daren't touch that with a fucking 20-foot barge pole.
I wouldn't either.
He could have played Charles Manson as well, and Marlon Manson. He could have played a whole host of weird-looking people. And Bowie was weird, that's what he was. He was weird at times, the thin white Duke with the Nazi uniform and all of that. A lot of things get airbrushed with David, and I understand it. An incredibly talented musician, loved the guy as a fucking just an artistic force of nature, but he made some weird decisions. And I'll let him away with it because he was out his mind in coke and whole host of other drugs. And he admitted it, he went to Berlin to take these concoctions of drugs. So that's not my words, that's the words of David Bowie. I'm not defaming him. He openly admitted it. He made some weird decisions. But I can't think of anybody on planet Earth who could play David Bowie. So that's the one biopic I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Because you can just watch that guy through archive footage and you've got his biopic. You don't need someone to tell a story in a 2-hour movie. To tell a story you can't tell a David Bowie fucking story in 2 hours. But this movie, Stephen, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm going to go and watch it in the theatres. It's a success already. It looks in terms of box office. It's open big. It's #1 in the United Kingdom. It's doing well worldwide. Well on its way to making a profit, probably, or breaking even. Searchlight Pictures again. Just a brilliant studio. I'm glad that they still exist under the Disney umbrella because they're willing to push the boundaries and make movies like this and Jojo Rabbit and other weird and wonderful little
Disney
movies.
understand there is a demographic out there that don't want family orientated content all the time, and it's a good sort of sideline for Disney as well to release these sort of, they're not independent films, but they're films that have got a bit more freedom to them in terms of where they can go with the content for language, visualization, and obviously a bit more adult orientated. And certainly we've seen that. Jojo Rabbit was one of the sort of good examples there, John, you just rhymed off. You couldn't put that,
his best.
you could not put that on just Disney. You could not do that. It has to be on, obviously, Searchlight. It has to be for a specific demographic who are going to watch that, because Disney would dare not put that on their own sort of.
No, it has to be multi-demographic. It has to be octogenarians. It has to be little toddlers. They want the full, I don't know what you'd even call it. What would you call it?
They want the
spectrum of ages. They want every age possible to maximise profits. But to be fair, Searchlight is an umbrella company, so in a way they are kind of greenlighting it just through a different name. Before we move on, we've got a couple of comments. I'm not going to touch some of them. My thoughts on Elon Musk, not favourable. Don't like the guy. Recently, I don't like his influence. I think he should stick to fucking making rockets and try to get humanity onto Mars and less sort of political interference. And as for the Nazi salute shit from yesterday, I mean, less said about that the better. Tommy Robinson, I'll leave it there. Who's best actor? Actresses, in your opinion? I mean, that's just subjective, isn't it? I mean, you could argue Daniel Day-Lewis is probably the best, I mean, the guy's just unbelievable.
I think, I mean, there's a whole host, I think, just people we grew up with. As you said, John, it's subjective, really, you know. What do you deem as a good actor? You know, someone that wins all the awards, or someone that you find you've got a connection with, you understand the sort of nuances and all that kind of thing. Harrison Ford being one of them, you know. Favourite yours, John, Clint Eastwood.
Paul Newman.
You know, Paul Newman. I mean, we're going back, obviously, but I mean, there's a whole host of ones. Your man from the piano, the pianist, sorry.
Adrian Brody, he's phenomenal.
Brody, you know, I put him up there with Daniel Day-Lewis in terms of his acting performance. And then you can go to the Kate Blanchett.
Brando's also the obvious one, isn't he?
Who?
Brando.
I don't know, John. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him as well. I think he can be quite Marmite for a lot of people. I know my dad doesn't like him. He said he was fantastic until he did The Godfather, and he's not saying that the Godfather performance was bad or anything like that, but after The Godfather he couldn't really shift that image.
You know, Stephen, it's funny, you should say that. I love The Godfather as a film. Incredible. But I don't think of Brando's performance when I think of The Godfather. The first Godfather, I think of Pacino. It's the greatest cinematic transformation of a character.
I mean, you talk about Pacino. I mean,
really Brando.
The guy has it all, and I know perhaps maybe over the last 15 years he's phoned in quite a lot of performances, but that doesn't take away from his back catalogue. Will it be The Godfather, Scarface, Scent of a Woman? You know, the list goes on.
I still think he's better than De Niro, by the way, and I love De Niro, but I think Pacino's another level with De Niro.
Pacino just edges it with me. Yeah, definitely.
And look, De Niro's in some brilliant roles as well. He's the one I think of when I think of Godfather 2. I think of De Niro. I never think of Brando. I know he's
no.
synonymous with the role, but he's fucking shot dead like, halfway through the first film, and then it's just Pacino.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, if you've not seen it now, I mean, for fuck's sake, don't know what to tell you.
It's
It's
a
come out.
hard watch for. I think I can understand a lot of people, maybe generations in front, after us,
Yeah,
would find that hard. Particularly part one, I think, is a hard watch. I think for a lot of people, it's very slow paced. It's very slow burn. But there's a payoff if you stick with it. There is a reward at the end of that if you
and
stick
it's
with
Michael. He goes from this little babyface guy out the army, no business, or not connected to the grubby family business, the mafia stuff. And by the end, he's just invested. The transformation is, I still think, the greatest cinematic transformation ever. And it's Pacino. He didn't even get I don't think he got nominated for it. It's fucking mental. But you could say anyone. Kate Blanchett's the woman, for me as well. Just unbelievable.
For females, Sigourney Weaver as well. Grew up with Sigourney Weaver. Phenomenal actor. I could be very cliche and rhyme off the sort of female ones that I grew up with, Carrie Fisher and Linda Hamilton, But, they're all fantastic, Jamie Lee Curtis, but I think Kate Blanchett's something, she's on another level when it comes to acting. I would even put her ahead of
Meryl
Streep, and Glenn Close, who are phenomenal. I'm not saying they're not, but something about Kate Blanchett, are just the presence that actor gives to films is phenomenal. And we talked about obviously the Dylan film. She was the standout in that film for me.
Yeah. Another female actor or actress, Toni Collette. Unbelievable.
Very underappreciated, I think, at times. When you look at the body of work she's done, she can do it all. Very much like English actress.
Tilda Swinton.
I'm blanking on them.
She's
she was in
Scottish.
Hot Fuzz.
Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
She's
I
fucking
put
incredible as well.
Toni Collette in that sort of same bracket as her.
Yeah.
Very underrated. I'm saying underrated. She's won Academy Awards. You know what I mean? It's like in terms of the mass population, it's not the name that you sort of rhyme off. You don't go, Toni Collette.
Frances McDormand is what she
Drummond,
called.
yeah.
Brilliant as well. There's so many. It's subjective.
It is, yeah.
And depending on what, like you say, is what you're looking for. I mean, Tom Cruise maybe someone's. Kevin Bacon might be. I love Kevin Bacon, man.
I like
for me, I mean, I'm a Paul Newman man. I try to get a fucking painting of Paul Newman. Couldn't get one. Try to get that black and white with the pearl blue, like the pure piercing blue eyes that you had. Couldn't get one. Love Paul Newman. Always reminded me of my grandfather for some reason when he was older.
You need to try his ranch sauce.
Yeah, I'll need to try it, yeah.
His ranch sauce is unbelievable on a salad.
I'll need to have
It's
try
incredible.
that, yeah.
You can get it from most supermarkets. It's incredible. One of the best ranch sauces I've tasted. Because he was in his food. He's got his brand, in terms of sauces for steaks and stuff like that, salads, phenomenal. But in terms of his acting, there's not many people can touch him.
No, he was unbelievable.
And all those people that came after him, Tom Cruise, they all wanted to work with him, says a lot. But I mean, that kind of generation of acting or actors is probably gone now. Eastwood probably been the last of that sort of bunch, which is sad. But Clint's still making films, which is incredible.
We've still got Hackman, haven't you? He's still floating about.
He's been retired for about 20 years, but I think he's in his sort of mid-90s now. Robert Redford as well.
He's looking good for his age. Jesus Christ. But I tell you what, Brad Pitt, man. I was watching Meet Joe Black. He can do everything. Can do action, can do comedy, can do drama, can do romance.
He's underappreciated, and I think probably because Brad Pitt and his looks, a lot of people just assume he's got far because of his looks. No, not at all. You look at his catalogue of work.
35 when he filmed Meet Joe Black. I was watching it, I'm like, this guy's the same fucking age as me there. It's crazy.
1995?
97, I think.
Was
I
it
think, or
97?
98.
Right.
Crazy.
Late as that, right?
Yeah, I think it was late 90s, yeah. 85. He fucking looked about 23. Not a line in his face. I'm like, this guy's had work done even back then. Unbelievable. But Stephen, quickly, going to jump onto this before we do a little live reaction to something you've sent over. And
Perhaps maybe it's not a good idea because it's 8 minutes long.
Yeah, maybe not then.
We can maybe do it as a separate video.
Yeah, we probably will do that. But it's just the topic of AI. I spoke about the brutalist, Adrian Brody. The editor is receiving some backlash at the moment because he's revealed the use of AI in dialogue in buildings. He says it's nothing that hasn't been done before. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy over Disney and other studios during the actors' strike, potentially using the likeness of extras.
On the film that we watched with the sort of live seance, what's it called? The one, the devil.
The devil all the time. No, it's not that. It's something else. Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil. They were panned for using the same technology as well, AI technology for
poster
signage and stuff like that. The poster, yeah. I don't think there's any harm in that, to be honest with you. It's background stuff. It doesn't really matter.
I think the criticism might be that you're doing someone out of job, a creative sort of person in the industry who could have did.
Well, AI still has to be instructed. It still has to have prompts. So you need to employ someone to do that.
It's really inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's like the discussion with music 20 years ago. This discussion with film distribution, how it goes on to streaming services, goes to home. It's now quicker than ever before. You've got to move with the times or get left behind. AI is a thing.
Yep.
It's a thing. People are using it every day in articles and all sorts of other things. It's part of day-to-day life now. The art side of things is getting better by the week. Why would you not utilise it?
We've been following AI for the best part of 3 years now in terms of imagery and videos.
Yeah, it's come on at a terrifying rate.
We used to do creations along with Kevin, fellow movie burner, in a chat, and the thing was obviously the hands. Couldn't really do the hands was the issue with AI. It couldn't work out how to create human hands, but they've done that now. You're seeing it now. You're seeing people playing guitar that don't exist.
It's mental. It's the video side of things as well.
Yeah.
There's like walkthroughs in cities, and it's all AI. The people are all AI, and it looks incredible.
I remember you showing that, yeah.
But
as you say, it's inevitable.
But Stephen, like you says, it still takes a degree of skill. You've got to probe and guide AI to actually create something. It can't just be some random just typing gibberish and it comes up. There's a skill to it. And like everything else, people are unbelievable at it. There's people who are on another level to like someone like me. I mean, I can create a Van Gogh. I'm going to call him Gogh. Everyone says Van Gogh. He was fucking Dutch. It's Van Gogh.
Yeah.
I can create a Van Gogh inspired picture. Here, I just bought a Labrador print. It's clearly fucking AI. It's incredible. It looks like my dog. That's why I bought it. It's the absolute spit of my dog. So I don't mind AI.
I was up in Oban last April, and we were going through the sort of touristy shops, the ones that sell the little plastic kilties, etc. But they had like Highland cattle design
the cow,
photographs, and they were all AI. I knew they were AI.
They're incredible. And you know, Steve, I was actually contemplating getting a Highland sort of cow. I forget the name of it. Multicoloured. It's based off, I think it's Stephen Brown as the artist. But I now look at Stephen Brown's artwork and it looks absolutely shit compared to the AI. Like, it just looks rough. I understand there's a human touch there and it's not going to be perfect. But I can't look. I mean, I know Francesca obviously loves Stephen Brown. I think get a personal connection with him. I can't look at his artwork now and then take it serious compared to the AI stuff. It's just miles better. It's miles better. But the brutalist Brady Corbett, he's come out, he's discussed it. He says, I'm a native Hungarian speaker. I know that it's one of the most difficult languages to learn to pronounce. It's an extremely unique language. We coached. I think this is something completely fucking different. It's not even remotely about the AI. I want to just discuss the AI quickly. First try to ADR these harder elements with actors to overcome this. Then we tried to ADR them completely with other actors, but it just didn't work. So we looked for other options of how to enhance it. They recorded their voices into the AI software while Jankso said he also fed in his voice to finesse the tricky dialect. I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. When you're dealing with a really hard dialect, getting that sort of smoothing out the rough edges like that is absolutely fine. As long as there's still a human performance in there, absolutely fine. It's like the Beatles stuff with Now and Then. You're taking out the imperfections in the recording process for Lennon's vocal. It's still John Lennon singing. Nothing wrong with that. I have no issues with that whatsoever.
I think AI is probably the wrong terminology in that instance to refer it's. You need some, obviously, artificial intelligence learning in terms of deletion rather than creation. In that instance, it was removing the background. It was taking the voice and separating it from the rest of the static television, probably Sean jumping about. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely come on leaps and bounds over the last 5 years, and it's only going to get more sophisticated. But at the moment, it needs the input, it needs the commands, it needs the prompts.
Yeah.
And you need people to do that are skilled, that know the level of detail that's required for certain tasks within movies, whether it be film or television or music videos or whatever it may be. You need that talent. So it's a job creation itself, AI. It's created jobs.
Yeah, that's fine. That's moving with the time. If it's inevitable and it's going to creep into multiple industries, you'll be as well getting skilled people involved to work with it, so you're not losing jobs completely. So I've got no issues with it. I know you're very well versed in it, Stephen. It's part of your industry more than ever now, so I know you in particular know your shit when it comes to it. I'm a complete
John, I definitely am an advocate. It's not there to replace, it's there to assist.
Yeah.
You know, because humans and AI have to work together.
They do. I think we're going to become one.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's going to happen. I think the likes of Musk, we sort of Neuralink, I think we're going to become one being for that. I think that's
going to live forever.
I mean, Stephen, I can go down a rabbit hole with this shit. We'd be here all night. I genuinely think aliens and all of this are just future fucking humans who became incredible and they're almost like going back into it. You could lose your mind. They've became one sentient interstellar race and they're going back in time. It's like a time machine. That's what I think we're seeing here. It's like sexless husks. That's why they're grey, they're skinny. There's no muscle definition. You could lose your mind with this shit. Needless to say, I'm not averse to AI. It's inevitable anyway. If it's not going to wipe us the fuck out, we'd as well just join them with it. I know I'd be better off for AI, so I'm not going to argue with it. It helped me out a lot. And if it means you can go to like China or Japan and you've got some sort of thing in your head that's like your phone's an extension of you just now anyway, and you can understand them, then I'm for that. I'm too lazy to learn Japanese and Mandarin and stuff like that, so just plug something in my head that means I can speak it or immediately understand it, and I'm on board for that. I digress though. We're done here, Stephen, because I fear my AirPods are going to cut out. I heard the little in one ear. You know that sound they make? Yeah. And the batteries though. It's like the batteries like just dripping down your ear. You're like, fuck off. I digress, man. What is your thoughts on the topics we touched on the show tonight? We flowed all over the place. Bruce Lee famously says, be water, my friend. We were like water tonight. We were flowing all over the place. But we spoke about Saif Ali Khan, obviously, and the horrendous news coming out that he'd been stabbed by a crazed, I presume, thief, illegal immigrant who's been arrested. What's your thoughts on that? Share your thoughts down below. About Saif, about what happened. Thoughts on Timothée Chalamet and A Complete Unknown. His box office success here in the United Kingdom, worldwide in general. Have you seen the film? What's your thoughts on it? Anything else you want to discuss? The Brutalist AI, anything at all? Share it down below in the comment section. That's the place to put your thoughts. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyes on YouTube. Follow button, notifications button over on Twitch as well to see us live over there. Thank you for the comments. And all that's left to be said is until the next time, thank you for watching us.